Dogs make the best companions for humans. This podcast aims to help make humans better companions for their dogs. Welcome to the Baru Podcast, a modern lifestyle podcast for dogs and their people. I'm your host, Charlotte Bain. I've been caring for other people's dogs for more than 15 years. And while I've learned a lot in my career, I definitely don't know it all. So I've collected an ever-evolving roster of amazing dog people. And I learn new things from them all the time. Hi, you guys. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of the Baru Podcast. In today's episode, I chat with Brian Taylor, also known as the dog father of Harlem. We chat about the inspiration behind his successful grooming business, Harlem Doggy Day Spa, how we as pet parents can be more mindful when it comes to the grooming needs of our pets, and of course, the amazing launch during the pandemic of his nonprofit Pup Relief Tour, which provides essential pet grooming for communities in need. Let's take a listen. I want to talk about many things, but one of them is the amazing work that you did and still do with the Pup Relief Tour, but we can get to that. We can get to that in later on. And also just because grooming is, as I say, is like such an important part of the health and wellness, right, of our pups, right? And so play a huge role. So before we jump into all of that, I always like to know how people got into working with animals, because the journey is there's usually some crossover for people, but mostly it's unique, right, to the individual. So
absolutely. Originally, I was a business banker for JP Morgan Chase. Wow. I had a banking career. I worked at PNC Bank. And I was moving up the ranks, and I was helping a lot of local businesses in Harlem set up their merchants account, payroll services, anything that I had to do in terms of building a relationship with the bank. So, the thing about JP Morgan Chase is they did a lot of continuing education. Mm-hmm. They really, whatever position you were in, they really, really have workshops. They'll take you out of your business. Yeah. And put you in a workshop a week so you can learn new stuff.
That's cool.
Hands-on training. And I was so fascinated about owning a business. Mm-hmm. I'm the first one that graduated from college. Mm-hmm. The first in so many ways in my family. My dad is a factory worker. My mom worked in nursing home. So graduating school, coming to New York, learning about business, it was just so destined for me to want to own my own business. Because ever since I started working, since I was 15 years old, I've always made sure I had money, and I didn't have to go to my mom and ask her to buy me a pair of sneakers. I had to find a way to make that money. So animal care, it was just more of like, I love animals, but I don't know what this is. I didn't really raise up with animals like that. In Africa, we had animals roaming around. My uncle had a dog. So it was just there. Like, I was never afraid, but it wasn't like a pet.
You didn't have a pet of your own. Was it Sierra Leone is where you grew up?
Sierra Leone. I was born in Sierra Leone. So my younger brother is the most adventurous person ever. So we saw a dog in the middle of our neighborhood, mm-hmm. and he's like, we need to just rescue this dog. So we rescued this dog, and here I'm pulled into something. Right. So when I do something, we kind of had this pack of just helping each other out. So we kept the dog in my mom's basement for about close to 2 weeks.
Oh my God. Your mom didn't know?
No, we was eating scraps, whatever we can. But when the dog would bark, we're like, oh, that's the neighbor's dog. We just basically just kept like misleading her. My mom never goes to the basement. Yeah. Because she knows that's where we have all the video games. Yeah. Our clothes on the floor. She just never, and she has all guys. You have 4 guys. Like, there's certain places that you don't go. You don't go to the basement. You don't go to the garage because you already know you're going to yell at them unless something crazy happened. So she happened to go to the basement and she saw like kennels and stuff with the dog. And she's like, you guys have a dog here. And I was like, we're not supposed to have a dog. My mom is like Muslim, so she was very strict about certain things. Mm-hmm. So we had to let the dog go. So we found a place in our community, somebody who needed a dog. So that's how I looked at animals, like, oh, this is so sweet.
Yeah.
Somewhere in me, I'm like, you know what? When I get my nice fancy apartment, and I'll have a dog,
Yeah.
And one day, this young lady, my ex-partner, it didn't work out. She walked into the bank with a couple of dogs, and she had some issues with her bank account. So I was like, what do you do? She's like, oh, I'm a dog walker, and I groom dogs. I was like, wow. And I'm looking like, so you take care of 5 dogs? Like, yeah, every couple of hours I walk them, I take them to the house, they stay over. And I was just so like amazed by this.
Yeah.
I was like, really? So I sat her down, I tried to help her out. She had some issues, and I was like, I just didn't understand. Like, you have the earning potential. Why do you have these issues? And I just really, at that moment, I understand it was money management. But
we can all use help with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. After a couple of weeks and just helping her, chatting up with her, I was like, hey, let me volunteer. So like 2008, 2009, we're going into the recession. Obama becoming president at that time. There was so much changes happening. And I was like, I'm not sure about this banking thing. So what I would do, I would leave work and I would go to her place and I would volunteer. I would help her walk dogs, or I would just be around it. I just kind of just fell in love with, like, oh, this is so cool. Right. And 9 months later, I wrote a business plan called All Things Pets. I was like, I'm going to open a pet store. I had some money saved. Young in New York at 26, making money, having commission. The only thing you do is party and have fun and try to, go places and travel. And I was like, I didn't want that. I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
So I sat with her. I was like, listen, I want to invest in your business. I'm going to help you organize your business so this could be successful. So when I did my research at that time, I wanted to do a pet supply store because I thought about retail, and I have a sales background. I worked at Macy's. I worked at Lord & Taylor. It's simple. Have stock, understand your inventory, put a markup, and you gain some of the profit from the sales. So when I looked, there was no pet store as much as there was a need of that care in Harlem.
Right.
So when I would see people with pets, I would go introduce myself and ask them, where do you get your dog groomed at? Where do you keep your dog when you go out of town? They'll tell me 96th Street, Upper West Side, somewhere in the Bronx. And I'm like, the way Manhattan is set up, it's 4x4s. What I mean by 4x4, for every 10 avenues. So 10 blocks. So from 135th to 145th, from Riverside to Lenox, you should have everything you need in that space that you don't have to leave to block number 11.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. That's grocery store, delis, your favorite deli, fashion, clothing, food, gym. So that itself is a community. You don't need to go to block number 11.
Yeah.
So when I looked at it, I'm like, why there's no pet store here? But within 10 blocks radius, there's over 100,000 people there.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a need for animal care. So I sat down with my financial advisor, my good friend, where we try to do a business together. We try to get a Black Gypsy medallion before it became good. Luckily, we didn't do that because Uber came in and took that away. Yeah. And he was like to me, Black people don't love dogs the way white people do. I was like, what? I'm like, that's my thesis. I just kept that in the back of my head. That's my thesis. That's my point. Because at the time, obviously, the Michael Vick thing, DMX, how most people assume Black people only have big vicious dogs or pit bulls they have this classification as being dogs that they're trained to injure, hurt other people. So
There's a big stereotype there.
I was like, that's not true.
Right.
There got to be more to this, because all I keep seeing is people with cute dogs groomed.
Yeah.
What about those dogs? Like, are they vicious too?
Yeah.
So we came up with Harlem Doggy Day Spa. 9 months in, I was lucky to get the space. We got turned down at least by 3 different landlords that didn't want to do nothing with dogs.
Do you think just because of the risk of the barking and the distrust, and the situation?
Dogs, it was a combination of everything.
Huh.
And it plays into the stereotype too about that community. Yeah. And I'm like, no. One day I sat down, and I've been visiting this particular location for a while. This young lady had a religious bookstore in that space. It was in a brownstone. And I would go in there, and she was, I think, a 7-day Adventist. And she was only selling that books in her store. But right next door, there was a Jehovah's Witness. And I was like to her, like, I understand you're this type, or this is your religion, but if you sell Jehovah's Witness books here, you would have a really good bookstore. And she was very adamant about it. Yeah. But I love the space, because the space was like 600 square feet, small, the first level. It was close to the train station, 145th train station. I was looking at the ridership at 145th at in 2008, 9, 300,000 to 500,000 people were swiping on that place. I'm like, okay, there's traffic here. Yeah. And then it's residential. Dog business does well in a residential area versus a big city part. So I looked at it like, okay, there is an opportunity. And I was like, listen, if this doesn't work out for you, just hit me up. I have a business idea. I would love to talk to the landlord. Maybe we can sublease, because I figured that was the only way I was going to get in a place if somebody already had a lease and I could sublease. Yeah. She hit me up 2 weeks later, Brian, let's do it. That's what I want to do. I'm like, sure. And
was she a dog lover, or did she have dogs, or she just started talking to people and she was like, okay, he's on to something?
No, she just wanted a sublease. She just wanted to get out of it.
Okay, got it.
And then the landlord said, no, I don't want to sublease. I'd rather deal with him directly. But this is what helped me. It's just so happened the landlord wife worked at the bank. Okay. So she was a assistant manager at another branch location in like Dykeman. So I went to go see her. I'm like, listen, you see my numbers. You see how successful I'm in my position, and people love me at the bank. I have a personality. So I was like, I just want the opportunity to talk to your husband about this space. And, she put in a good word for me. And the kids were the one that made the decision. It's like, Dad, yes, we love dogs. There's the dog. People need to service their dogs. Give him the lease. So he trusted me with the space. It's like, listen, I'm going to give you the lease. Because obviously everybody like you, and second, this is what you want to do. Yeah. And we got the place in like the beginning of 2010. 6 months later, we opened up Harlem Doggy Day Spa. And actually, October 31st makes me 12 years in that space, 12 years in business.
Well, congratulations. Is it in the same location it is still
the same
today?
Location, yes.
And where is it again? It's on...
We're on 147 in St. Nicholas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Hamilton in the middle of Hamilton Heights. Yep. Okay. Where I think is one of the best area to live now in Harlem.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into it. I became a dog groomer.
Okay.
Because my ex-partner kept calling out and had this issue, that issue. We didn't have no AC. It was too hot. She didn't want to groom. Wow. It was so many, like that first year of business was so hard.
I bet.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to school. I got fired from Chase because I would leave work to come on my lunch break to make sure that things are running well.
Oh, so you were doing both at the same time?
Yes,
Okay.
I was doing
Oh,
the
wow.
same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it for 2 years. I'll leave work and I'll come, and my attendance suffered. I got into a new position, and it was like, Brian, why don't you take 6 months? I'm like, no, I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the 6 months. I need my income.
Yeah.
I should have did that, but it wasn't right. So when I got fired from Chase, I went to dog grooming school, and what happened in dog grooming school was that's when I knew this was for me, because I would go to school from like 9 to 1, then I would come back to the salon, and then I would work with her, and she was good at working with difficult dogs.
Okay.
So then basically I'll groom 1 or 2 dogs in school, then I'll groom 2 or 3 dogs underneath her. She'll do all the finishing. She'll teach me how to groom cats. So I was getting like that in-depth training for 2 months. So within a month, I knew how to groom, and I'm very particular. I'm very I'm the type of person, I'm anal about making sure everything looks good.
Attention to detail. Yeah.
Yes. I would go over it, and I would bust my butt to make sure that my grooming looks good. And I obviously have really great customer service skills. I just knew about customer service, just the importance
your personality.
Welcoming in, checking in the dog, understanding what they want, trying to match what they want to the condition of the coat.
Yeah.
We just had a good conversation. And then even when I messed up, I just really knew about following up. How was your service? Were you happy?
Yeah.
Is there anything I could have done differently? So those connections really helped me in the beginning.
Yeah.
So when friction started to go against each other, that's what helped me save the business, because it got to a point when people wanted me to groom their dog, then my ex-partner, and then roles started to cross lines. Right. I'm a workaholic. Yeah. I'm always never saying no.
Yeah.
It just was a point where sometimes I think the biggest lesson I learned from that situation in total is really know who you're going in business with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And so you've been, and it takes a lot of creativity also to do. Did you know you had that creativity in you? Did you know, or is that something that just kind of came out while you were doing it?
So to tell you a story is I have a bald head, right? So my dad used to cut all our hair because he didn't want to pay barbers because he had 4 boys. Yeah. So my dad would chop my head up.
Oh boy. And
then at night, I will go get me a razor, and I'll just be in the bathroom, just cleaning up my head. I was like, I know for sure I'm not going to go to school, and no one's going to make fun of me or call me African booty scratcher, because that's what they used to call you when you come from Africa back then, with patchy hair on my head. So I cleaned up my head, and I was getting good at it. So one time, I did the Mike Tyson haircut. When you put the little slash here, Mike Tyson had like a brush cut, and they put the slash. And my dad was so mad at me. He's like, "Why you do that to your head?" Because I was trying to I'm tired of getting a bald head.
Yeah.
I was a skinny little kid with a bald head from Africa, so it was just a lot. But he didn't understand that. So when I went to when I went to college, my first year I rebelled, and my mom is an authority figure. My mom didn't like it, but I ended up growing my hair, and I transformed it into locks.
Okay.
So I had long dreadlocks in college. My mom was so upset at me for it. But I think at that moment is when I learned how to actually use my hand in terms of grooming, because I wanted to keep my locks neat. So I would get it done every Saturday. Saturday, I would spend 5 hours. My locks was to my chest. I would spend 5 hours while the kids are out eating, in college, and I'll clean up my hair, wash it, retwisted, make it look nice. I would get my clippers. I had a little beard. I would fix up my little beard, fix up my hairline and all that. And I used to do it so good that people used to ask me hey, can you fix up my hairline? So I was always good with hair, and I was always good with hands. So that's where it came from. To transform it into dog grooming, to me, that was a shock, because dog grooming is all about animal handling, which is one, and then also paying close attention to the coat, the condition, so that you got to keep the dog still enough to do what you have to do, but you got to understand the coat condition so you can do your job properly.
Right.
So those things, once I learned that, I just looked at a dog as a canvas.
Yeah.
And every time I groom a dog, I never know how it's going to look at the end. I just know it's going to come out good.
Right. Do people want you to, do people have specific things that they want you to do when you're?
Of course. Yeah. Everybody wants that Instagram dog.
Yeah.
Everybody wants that. Oh, can you turn it into a teddy bear?
Yeah.
So I have this thing like, yes, we can get you there.
Yeah.
This is hair goals.
Yeah.
Let's start right here first, and let's schedule a plan within 6 to 8 weeks to bring you back. In the meantime, you can do some brushing. Here's some brush you can buy. Yeah. Here's the shampoo and conditioner you use. This is how you hold on to your dog. This is how you blow dry your dog. And then we can get you there.
Yeah.
So sometimes I can accomplish what they want.
Right.
Some other times we're just setting up a game plan for the next 3 to 6 months to get them at least close to where they need. And those are the best clients because I develop a relationship with the dog. I groom the dog the same way all the time. The client, they feel involved. They feel like they're part of the process. So they listen, they become loyal clients, and we can actually get a dog from where they came in, and you can see the progression to where they want it to be. It doesn't happen with every client, but that great percentage of clients that it happens to become loyal clients over time.
Yeah. What do you think some of the mistakes pet parents may be making, like when they're trying to groom their own dog, or they wait too long? And that's another question. How often should one's dog get groomed? Because I know.
And it really depends on the breed, and it depends on the type of style you want for your dog. So I'm speaking about the favorite breeds right now, the Doodles, the curly coat.
Yeah. Why are they so hard to they're hard to groom? And I've heard of other groomers or just get frustrated.
No, they're not hard to They're not. This is the problem. And to me, it's that boundaries and expectation.
Got it.
I think the problem, one of the issues that I've noticed in the pet grooming space in general, a lot of people who are groomers, they love their job as groomers, but they don't have people skills. The most important part of the grooming process is the check-in process.
Got it.
Hey, Mr. Customer, how are you doing?
Yeah.
This is Fluffy. Oh, look at Fluffy.
Right.
Let's connect. So tell me what you want. Okay, great, Mr. Customer. This is what I can do for you.
Yeah.
And when we do that, this is the plan going forward.
Right.
And if we stick to this plan, I can accomplish this for you regularly.
Right.
But this is what you have to do on your end.
Right.
Whenever you come in, we're going to check in to see if you're doing your part. Okay, Mr. Customer, great. Let me get your dog. Let me groom your dog. Let me get your dog and set the pattern going forward that we can follow.
Right.
What the breakdown happened is where the boundaries is the problem. You know, appointments not being reset. People are not asking for deposits. People are not following up with their clients to confirm, like, has anything changed from the time that we booked your appointment to the time that your appointment is next week? Do you want to adjust your schedule? Okay, great. Have you been brushing your dog within that time? If you did a bath, did you towel dry a dog?
Because if they're not brushing their dog within, if they're not brushing their dog within that time, then the session can take much longer. Or you might have to, with some of my doodles, they'll have to get shaved because there's not like.
Yeah, before it gets to the point of being shaved, it's like the first thing is like, okay, I want a fluffy dog. What does that look like? Okay, are we talking about half an inch? Are we talking about 3/4? Are we talking about 5/8? Are we talking about a whole inch on the body? Okay, great. If we do a half an inch, okay, this requires you to brush your dog on a regular basis. You can miss a couple of times. It's okay. But brush this most important area, the harness, the chest, the underarm, in between the sanitary. But if you're talking about 7/8, you're talking about 1 inch, that requires a meticulous process of brushing your dog daily.
Got it.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The more hair, the more brushing, the more it takes. This is what you need. You need a slicker brush. You need a greyhound comb. You need to do a line brush. It's when you pull some of the hair, you brush a layer, then you pull the other layer and you brush it. And then when you brush it, you comb through it to make sure there's no knots or tangles. Yeah. You're not going to bathe your dog. You're going to bring your dog in within 5 weeks versus 6 to 8 weeks. You know, you're not going to go out in the rain when it's raining. You know, you're not going to put tight clothes on your dog. Before you go to sleep, you're going to brush and take that harness. And this is the process to maintain that. And if you don't want to do any of that, bring your dog every 4 weeks and I'll do it for you at a premium. Yeah. That's what it is. So when that conversation and that commitment and that plan is not in place, customers fall behind because dogs are afterthought at times.
Just going to say that. Yeah. They get busy and they're like, oh, one moment they wake up and they're like, oh, my dog is stinky, or, oh, my dog is like,
let me throw him in the tub quick. Mm-hmm. And then normally that mats happen within that 3 to 4 weeks before the appointment because they decided on this day, Fluffy went into the mud. They took it to the wrong dog park or the backyard. And now Fluffy is dirty. And I don't want Fluffy on my new carpet or my bed or my couch. So I'm just going to do this really quick. But what they normally do is they brush the top layer and don't realize the underneath is where all of this stuff happens. So that's the challenge. But when you say doodles are difficult, they're not difficult. It's really the communication that happened and then both sides taking ownership. There's been times when I tell clients like, listen, I love you and I love your dog, but I'm not the right groomer for you. And it's okay for me to lose you as a client because what you want me to accomplish, I can't accomplish it if you're not willing to do your part. And there's been times clients like, no, I'll pay you more. No, it's not about money. It's about principle. Because at the end of the day, it's the safety and the health of the dog. Because I TikTok 3 to 4 times a week, and I have over 1,500 to 2,000 people, sometimes 300 people watch me groom the dog from start to finish on my Dog Father page on TikTok. And people see the process. But I love that so much because they get to really respect what we do and how much work it takes. And I give them a lot of tips and advice on what they need to do when they walk into a salon, how to pick a good groomer, and how they can also be part of building the rapport with the groomer that they pick. So these are all those different things that happen. And then we have fun doing it. They love to see the transformation.
And the dogs are so cute.
Yeah, of course.
That was one of my questions. Like if someone was venturing to get a groomer for the first time, because, once you find somebody you like, generally you keep them for, many dogs as you build that relationship with somebody. What's something that they need to look for in a groomer?
The best way to answer this question is normally most groomers are found through word of mouth. Yeah. Word of mouth is the biggest tool. So start with the dog. Look at the dogs you like in the park or wherever. Ask them where did they get their dog groomed. Yeah.
Do they trust them? And
yeah, that's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is for the groomer side, you need to know your client persona. So most clients are going to touch base with you on social media first. They're going to follow you. Mm-hmm. They're going to go to your Google. They're going to watch your Google to see what's in your reviews. Yeah. And they're going to look at your account, your business website. They're going to see how easy or how hard it is for them to book an appointment. So what I tell new pet parents is the first thing is word of mouth, pay attention to their social, find out how easy or hard it is for them to book an appointment.
Yeah.
Most of them are on social, just showing their how much passion they have for animals. So you can kind of get a sense if this is the type of energy you want to be around. And then call to see if you can stop by to bring your dog. That's always a good thing, because then you can see the groomer if they give ability, or you can check the space out to see how comfortable you feel there. But that initial conversation is always a good thing. And I always tell people, don't wait too long. Once you get your round of vaccines, in New York, you require all rounds of vaccines. But other places, you don't really require all of them. Once you get the round of vaccines that the vet said it's okay for you to bring your dog, stop by and see if you can get a nail trim. Spark a conversation, and start off with doing basic bath and basic face. Most groomer have like a puppy starter package. You can definitely do a puppy starter package, and the most important thing is try to make sure you have a conversation with a groomer, because that's the most important thing. Some places are too big that you can't speak to the groomer, but if you can, or you can find a place that you feel comfortable to do that, or speak to the owner. Owner gives you a lot, but once you're in that space, you get a sense if you're comfortable being there. 90% of groomers really love puppies and really love their job. So they're going to do what's right. But building the rapport between the groomer and you, it's more important than anything else, because that's where, go like, oh, I love this client. Makes me feel comfortable. I'm going to take extra attention. I'm going to pay close. I'm going to give this dog all my time. Or the other way around too. Or I love this client. We're going to find a way to educate this client so she'll know, or he will know, what they need to do outside of just natural grooming. Because the thing is, I think groomers are the first step to veterinarians, because we get to see your dog. We get to see how your dog reacts on the table when we bathe and brush and groom. We get to see that coat, to see whatever is going on. So it's best to have a good rapport with someone that's going to be handling your dog.
And how do you set, and do you have any tips on like setting your dog up for success at the groomer, like as far as getting them more comfortable? Because when the dog feels not scared, when the dog feels safe and comfortable and enjoys a grooming, it's less stressful for you and less stressful, and you can do your job. And other than starting as a puppy, maybe, but
my thing is, I think the most important thing is most dogs are super noise sensitive. They're afraid of loud noise. They're afraid of big objects. So the best way to set your dog for success, get a toothbrush, start that vibrating noise. Let them get comfortable with that vibrating noise. Start brushing them, start massaging the areas that they feel uncomfortable. If they don't like touching their paws, touch their paws a little bit more. Just kind of get them comfortable with it and reward them when they do good things. Because you want to make sure they're comfortable overall. And to set them up for success is really the timing for grooming. Don't wait 6-7 months to get your dog groomed for the first. It's probably already too late. Within that 3 months when they got all their vaccines, get them in. Let them get comfortable with the grooming process, because that's such a big part of their development. Then it helps us a lot too, where we get to be with those dogs earlier, so we can see some of the signs, some of the issues we may think that the owner could do at home to help improve this dog grooming experience.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so can we talk about the Pup Relief Tour?
The Pup Relief Tour.
And all the great work I want to talk about the inspiration behind the Pup Relief Tour, which was created or founded during the pandemic in 2020, right? So do you want to touch on that a bit? Because it was such a brilliant idea, and so just did such great work to help people. And I'd really love to touch on that, because I know it's still going on and people can also support it, right? To this day, right?
So the Pup Relief Tour It's something that I always wanted to do. It came out of left field, but it has the potential of what I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
My thing is, I think that I'm moving into a space where I really want to help dog related business in terms of consulting, instead of going in there and just kind of seeing like what can we do to improve your business, to improve the customer experience. So in 2018, I bought a mobile van. I was like, you know what? When it's slow, what I want to do, I want to travel and meet other groomers and hang out with them. My mobile business didn't really do as well as I wanted it to do. I actually closed down a shop in 2019 before the pandemic.
Okay.
So I had my van paid off. I'm not really making any money off of it. I was like, I'm not going to get rid of this van. This van serves a purpose.
Yeah.
So 2020 came. And I remember it too. In February, we did a fire sale. Like since we do grooming, daycare, boarding, we sold so many packages. We had people set up for the whole year.
Right.
Then March 7th, I never forget March 7th. March 7th came. I got sick. And when I
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got sick in the beginning. Ugh. But I thought it was a cold. I didn't take it seriously. We shut down like 2 days later when the governor was like, this is officially COVID and non-essential businesses cannot operate. And we fell in a non-essential space.
Yeah.
Probably the first week in April, my mentor got sick and died of COVID. She was a vet, Dr. Butler.
I'm so sorry.
And my uncle, thank you. And my uncle got sick and he also died.
Ugh.
And I was like, what the hell I'm going to do? My business is closed for 2 weeks. Everyone's on unemployment. People are asking for refunds. And I was just so stressed out. So when late April came, they changed the rules just a little bit. But that time, my phone was blowing up. Brian, I know you home. This is when people were using hazmat suit, mask and everything. And I know you live in the shop. So I could put my dog in a kennel. You don't have to meet me. And if you could grooming for me, I know you bored up in there. And I was like, what, forget it. I'll groom him. So what they would do is they would pay me what it costs. And then they will give me a tip, and then they will give me a donation to anyone else who may be struggling and may want to get their dog groomed.
So great. Yeah.
Yeah, my clients are amazing. To this day, they're super amazing. So within 2 weeks, we raised about like $2,000. I'm supposed to be giving, some people grooming services. So I reached out to my good friend. I was like, hey, listen, I want to create a fund and I want to just see if I can help more people. So people will still bring their dogs 2 or 3 times a week and I will groom them. And then I'll have my little ASMAC suit and all that. And I'll give it to them.
I mean, we laugh now, but still, it was intense. Yeah,
I know. And then I will post it on social media. And I think that's what really kind of helped and hurt, because now I'm here doing the legal stuff, but then the law changed that you can work on your own by yourself.
Yeah.
So I called one of my old babes. I was like, if you come in, you put your mask, we can work. We'll be fine. So I'm there grooming all over. People from Brooklyn would come see me. I was like, oh, wow. So I was like, you know what? I raised all this money through all the tips. I'm going to create the Pup Relief Fund. That's what I called it. The Pup Relief Fund. And then my good friend, she's in marketing. She's like, no, call it the Pup Relief Tour. Like, you can help people in New York because you have your van.
Yeah.
You just got to have them leave the dog in a kennel. Yeah. So I took my van out because I got tired of being in the house, and I started going to people's houses, helping them. And it would happen whenever I would groom a dog, I got paid for it. The next person dog, I would gift it because I got the tip and the donation. And then one of my followers on Instagram on my business page was following me over 2 years, and she said she loved what I do and how passionate I am for the community. Mm-hmm. She's like, she worked for CNN and she wants to cover how am I pivoting my business.
Yeah.
So I'm like, sure. So we did the article. It came out. I opened a GoFundMe page saying I want to help more people. I want to go around the country and help more people because I used to love Chevy Chase movie. Uh-huh. So I was like, I want to be in this van. I'm going to travel. I'm going to be safe. And I'm going to just stop in different places and groom their dogs. Just, help me raise money. And I raised close to $22,000.
Wow.
The first 2 or 3 days. I was like, what? This is serious. So now I called the pet industry. I was like, we have a lot of different Facebook groups. And I was like, hey, who wants to go on a road trip? They're like, no, it's COVID. Crazy.
I bet.
And then George Floyd happened. So when George Floyd happened, an article came out saying that at a time when the pet industry were making $100 billion in revenue, only less than 3% were African Americans that own pet businesses. And I was so shocked. But when I started thinking about it, like every time I go to these dogs expos or this continuing education things, I'll be the only one in there.
Yeah.
And then when I see another Black person, I'm like, hey, what's up? Do you want to get class together? So I made it my mission to now tap into the minorities in this space that I know of. And I reached out to them like, hey, do you guys want to go on tour with me? Within like a day, we had about 15, 20 people that said they wanted to go. When I put it in the group where there's mostly minority, mostly white, no one wanted to go.
Interesting.
So I just knew at that time with Black Lives Matter and everything was going on, this was something that we needed to do.
Yeah.
And the first round, we did 6 cities around. We did from New York, DC, North Carolina, Atlanta, Texas, and LA. And what we did is that we just had the people in that area fly there or who live there volunteer. And we groomed the dogs in that community. So it was the best experience ever. So that's where the Pup Relief Tour came from. It was just finding a way to give back because I wasn't going to be opening up my doggy daycare anytime soon.
Right.
And I needed more staff. I was like, I might as well just go on tour and just help people and have a little fun. And now it's this big nonprofit thing. We've done over 16 cities. We did over 1,900 dogs. And we're just going to continue doing it. Every year, everyone's asking me, where are we going next?
Right.
Yeah. So
you're still touring. And so you go into
all 50 states. So what we do is every year I put a filler out there of what salons that are interested in volunteering.
Okay.
And then from there, we build out the tour. So far, I think we're going to New Jersey. We're going to Arizona next year.
Okay.
I got to find one more place. Once we get the agreements from the location owners, we build out the tour. We invite groomers to come in and help out for 2 days.
Okay. Wow, that's fantastic. So you're helping all the dogs and the people in need, right?
Yeah. And I'm pledging to do all 50 states. But mostly what really helped us is our GoFundMe. All the donations, we use that money to set up the tour so that we can offer the services at no cost.
What is the GoFundMe so we can give
a shout out? It's called the Pup Relief Tour.
Okay.
On GoFundMe. You'll see the link there.
And I'll put the link in the show notes as well for sure so people can help support your mission.
Of course, yes. This is so fun because it's becoming bigger. So the dream now is to create a platform where we can answer some of these questions, like what's the best way to find a groomer, or what's the basic ways to clean your dog ears or cut the nails, or what's the best shampoo to use when this happens. I think having a platform where we also doing the care and upkeeping of what people could do in between groomings.
Yeah.
Also giving them a resource places where they could find a groomer in their area. I think that's part of what the Pup Relief Tour is evolving into. We just really need to find the right partnership to do it the right way.
Right.
But that's my goal.
Because it's such an important part of pet ownership. And I don't think that it's something that people necessarily think about, one of the first things that they think about when they get a new dog. And it's also, as we know, pet ownership can be, or partnership can be really expensive. So, you're able to give back to those who may not be able to.
So the way I look at it this way. So what we do on the tour is we look at it this way. If we can save you $100, generally that's what it costs for grooming nowadays. Yeah. At least $100 can pay a cell phone bill and put some food on your table. So it doesn't really matter if you can afford it or not. Yeah. Sometimes people just need a relief. Sometimes people are just really tight on certain things. So we want to give back to the pet community. Yeah. We do it this way. Right. We don't discriminate if you can't afford it or you could afford it. We just coming together to give back, because honestly, the other thing is a lot of pet groomers haven't found a channel to give back.
Right.
Yes, they can go give back in the rescues. Yes, they can give back in the shelters. But how it's, from my experience, because I've done a lot of those, sometimes it's overwhelming.
Right.
It's so much overwhelming. Yeah. But the space we create is that we're giving back to the community and we're having fun doing it, and we're educating pet parents at the mask.
Yeah.
So I think they like that tour concept, and that doesn't stop them to give back in the local shelters and community.
Absolutely.
But this is also an alternative.
Right. And you're building a community too, which is
building a community.
Fantastic, right? So
yeah.
Well, this is just great. You are amazing. You do such great work.
Thank you. My vision is just to bring people together through the love of animals. I say that a lot because I truly believe that. And I think that animals can actually teach us compassion and teach us ways to be better humans to each other. Especially at a time we're in now where everyone is super sensitive and super offended by everything. So, but it starts with these animals because they're here for that reason, for us to learn a little bit of how to be more compassionate.
Yeah, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Brian. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. And I'll put links to all your good stuff in the show notes.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Baru Podcast. You can check the show notes if you'd like to follow and support Brian and all the great work that he does with the Pup Relief Tour. And as always, if you enjoyed the episode, please follow the Baru Podcast and rate us wherever you get your podcasts and share it with your friends. We're also on Instagram @BaruPet. All right, you guys, let's chat next week.